The views expressed are solely those of the speaker and not necessarily those of Paltalk.com, AVM software, or its advertisers.
News Talk is online. News Talk Online is a production of Paltalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet with more than 4 million unique users on demand on iTunes and YouTube, and now syndicated by CRN Digital Talk Radio, the cable systems serving an additional 12 million households. I'm your host, Gary Baumgarten. For those of you who don't think I'm good looking on the cam, I've been told by the nickname the music biz to lean your computer. I guess if you lean it over, lean your computer over. I think she meant cleaned her computer. She cleaned her computer. Anyway, online on Paltalk.com, my guest is Bill Sobel. You may ask, who is Bill Sobel and what he does for a living? Well, I actually was talking to Mrs. Bill Sobel today, and she said to me, Gary, would you do me a favor? And I said, what's that? Says, you know, I really appreciate the fact that my husband goes to work in New York City every day and brings home money so I can go shopping, I can buy clothes, I can buy food for our lovely 16-year-old daughter, I can go Hanukkah shopping, but I really don't quite understand what Bill does for a living. Well, I've known Bill for some time now, and I'm not exactly sure what you do for a living, but I'm going to take a stab at it. You are a media connector. You actually get paid to take various people in the news media and bring them together. You have breakfast meetings here in New York City where people get up at ungodly early hours to attend these high-powered seminars where the heads of the most major media organizations come in and listen to one another, and also, interestingly, like to listen to the heads of organizations such as Paltalk.
As a matter of fact, you're right.
That's right, because everybody in that old media, like I was at CNN, traditional media for those who may take offense to the term old, are trying to make their way into the new cutting-edge media, such as what Paltalk and other organizations represent. And you facilitate this by putting people together to make it happen. Did I accurately describe what you do for a living?
You're hired.
I'm hired. Well, Mrs. Bill Sobel, who I'm told is watching on Paltalk, now you know what your husband does every day.
No, it's true. What really started off out as kind of a, I don't know, Mike here. What really kind of started off as I hate to use the word goof, but it wasn't really a goof. It was more of an experiment.
Yes.
I've been in the let's call it the traditional media business. I don't like calling it television anymore. People don't call it television. Do you call it television? I don't call it television. I call it traditional media.
Right. Well, I lump it all together because, of course, I came from radio. Right. So, but I came from newspapers as well. So I would say radio, television, and newspapers, they're struggling. They're losing audience. People have additional choices to get their information and their entertainment. More people are spending time on the internet than ever before. I don't think that any one internet outlet is drawing as much viewership or readership as, say, NBC, for example. But combined, we have been so powerful as to have taken viewership away from the CBSs, the NBCs,
they've also
ABCs,
targeted
the BBCs,
they've also
the CNNs.
targeted the audiences too. They know they'd like to know, or at least who's watching what, when, and why. Right. And the internet's offering that.
Right. The internet gives them an opportunity to narrow cast their message.
Absolutely.
The other thing that's very interesting is maybe you should be interviewing me rather than the other way around. But is that my friends in the newspaper business are really struggling, and the smart cookies out there have gone online and have made online their future, because in some markets people, yes, still like the ink on their hands, before they go have dinner at night or on their way to work in the morning with their morning coffee. But the world changes. By the time that paper is published, it's old news already, and so they turn more so to the internet. They're sitting on the subways, they're sitting on the ferry, they're sitting on the bus, they have their air cards, they're reading the New York Times, and the New York Times that I read on the ferry coming over from New Jersey to New York City every morning is not the New York Times that is on the doorstep of my next door neighbor.
Absolutely. Well,
that's old news.
Well, here I am going to my handy dandy smartphone.
Yes, it's like a BlackBerry, right?
It's pretty much. This is a Motorola product. And I have all my stuff here. I can go to, for example, Media Week, and I can download, not only stuff from this week's issue, but they update it regularly. So I can just go on this. But I want to talk about this. You familiar with the Amazon Kindle?
Amazon Kindle?
We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Let's just finish.
When you and I were growing up, we're about the same age. Amazon conjured up a different image than it does today.
Let's not go down that road. At least not now. That's in another room of Paltalk.
It's another room,
yes,
in the playground section?
There you go.
Okay.
It's a different room. Anyway, so to cut to the chase, I've worked in traditional television. I really started my career back in the late 70s at NBC here in New York.
It's funny I should happen to mention NBC. You were a page?
I was a page at NBC.
I didn't know that.
I was a page. I worked on Saturday Night Live. I worked on sports. I worked in baseball. I worked on NBC NFL football. I worked on all kinds of things. I was actually an intern on the soap opera The Doctors. And to this day, I still remember Kathleen Turner was on the soap opera The Doctors. And I ran into Kathleen a couple of years ago. And she looked at me and she said, I'm going back, almost 30 years. And Kathleen said to me, I know you from somewhere. Where do I know you from? Mm-hmm. And I said, I was a page at NBC. She said, stop right there. No one is to know how many years ago I worked in this business. If you tell anybody,
you just did.
See, so Kathleen Turner can kill me now.
That's right.
But that's what I did. A page, you do everything.
You produced Olympics.
Yeah, I worked very closely with the NBC Olympics team. I was involved with the post-production. The NBC's Olympics in 2004. Most of the work was really done back here. A lot of it was not done in Athens. It was
come
done
on,
back
all
here.
those tearjerker cutaways, because everybody who's on the American Olympic team, I don't know for those of you who are in other countries, but in the United States, every single, they are not chosen because of their athletic prowess. They're chosen because there's a backstory.
Oh, absolutely.
About how they overcame tragedy.
Absolutely.
To get to this point, to get to the Olympics in Athens or in Beijing, and it's guys like you that put this on, and and now when these kids get up there to perform, we're sitting there at home wringing our hands.
It's the story behind the story.
The story behind the story, and you, sir, are responsible for bringing that to life.
Well, responsibility is sort of a vague expression. So I worked with the production team on building out all the facilities that they use, both in 2004 as well as back in '96 when I was involved with the '96 Olympics in Atlanta. So
now, from '96 to 2004, there probably was a marked increase in the use of the internet to get that story out to the world.
Well, not only that, but there's a funny story that the people at NBC still joke about. Do you remember the triple cast?
When they were on 3 different networks.
At the same time.
At the same time, they were on.
But they had
NBC,
they had screens.
They were on NBC. They were on MSNBC and CNBC. Is that what they did?
I think that's how they did it. And they broke the screen up into quadrants. So you had one channel that had all 4, and then you could break up into whatever channel you wanted. And you bought the package. It was an abysmal failure. But now, under NBC's new deal with the IOC, NBC owns all rights to everything.